Welcome back to Scary With Me, the place where the darkest mysteries and terrifying true stories come alive. Tonight, I'll take you back to the year 1912, to a small, peaceful town in Iowa, where a night of unimaginable horror would change the town forever. This is the story of the Villisca Axe Murders, a brutal massacre that claimed 8 lives, left behind chilling clues, and remains unsolved more than a century later. Imagine closing your eyes at night in the safety of your home. The world outside is quiet, neighbors asleep, nothing but silence in the air. Now imagine waking up to the sound of footsteps in the dark, a shadow moving silently from room to room, and an axe being raised above your bed. That's exactly what happened inside the Moore household on June 9th, 1912. Josiah Moore was a respected businessman in the community. He lived with his wife Sarah and their 4 children, Herman, Catherine, Boyd, and little Paul. On that Sunday evening, the family attended a church event, a Children's Day program that Sarah had helped organize. 2 young girls from out of town, Lena and Ina Stillinger, were also present. They had been invited to spend the night with the Moore children after the program. For the girls, it must have felt like a fun sleepover with friends. None of them could have imagined it would be their last night alive. When the family returned home, everything seemed normal. They settled in for the night, unaware that someone, perhaps already hiding in the house, or perhaps lurking outside in the shadows, was waiting for them. Sometime after midnight, the killer began his rampage. The first blows were dealt to Josiah and Sarah in their bed. The attack was so vicious that Josiah's face was destroyed beyond recognition. The killer then moved through the house methodically, striking down each of the children in their beds. Finally, he entered the GUS room, where the Stillinger sisters slept. Both were killed, but it is believed that one of the girls, Lena, may have awakened during the attack. Evidence suggested she might have tried to fight back. By morning, the entire house was silent. A neighbor noticed that the Moores had not come outside to do chores, which was unusual. Concern grew, and eventually, relatives entered the home. What they found was beyond comprehension. The entire family, along with the 2 Stillinger sisters, lay dead. Blood covered the walls and even splattered the ceilings. The murder weapon, the family's own axe, was left inside the home. But what disturbed investigators were the strange details. Every mirror and reflective surface in the house had been covered with cloth. Curtains were drawn shut. The killer had even covered the victims' faces, as if to hide them from view. A kerosene lamp was found with its chimney removed, placed carefully at the foot of a bed. There was food left out on the table, as though the killer had calmly eaten after the murders. A bowl of water was discovered in the kitchen, with traces of blood, suggesting the murderer had washed up before leaving. The townspeople quickly gathered as word spread. Instead of preserving the crime scene, dozens of curious neighbors entered the house, stepping through blood, touching objects, even taking items as souvenirs. By the time law enforcement regained control, the evidence had been hopelessly contaminated. Without clear evidence, suspicion turned toward possible suspects. One of the first was Reverend George Kelly, an eccentric traveling preacher who had attended the same church service as the Moores that night. Kelly was known in town for his odd behavior, and he even confessed at one point, saying that God had commanded him to kill. But his confession was inconsistent, and many believed it was coerced. He stood trial twice, but was ultimately acquitted. Attention also turned to Senator Frank Jones, a wealthy and powerful man who had a business rivalry with Josiah Moore. Rumors claimed Moore had once worked for Jones, and that their falling out was bitter. Some even whispered about a personal grudge involving an alleged affair. Could Jones have hired someone to kill Josiah and his entire family? Many in the town believed so, but no solid evidence ever surfaced. and he was never charged. There were also theories about a wandering serial killer. Around that same time, several other brutal axe murders occurred across the Midwest, in Kansas, Colorado, and other parts of Iowa. The similarities were striking. Families killed in their sleep, curtains drawn, mirrors covered, the weapon often left behind. Could it have been the work of a drifter, a faceless stranger who traveled from town to town, slaughtering families before moving on? Despite endless speculation, no one was ever convicted. The case grew cold. Over the decades, the murders faded into legend, but they were never forgotten. The house where the crime occurred still stands in Villisca today. Preserved as a historical site, it draws tourists, historians, and paranormal investigators. Many visitors claim the house is haunted. They report hearing the laughter of children, footsteps moving in empty rooms, and voices whispering in the dark. Some have even claimed to see shadowy figures or felt an oppressive presence that makes it hard to breathe. For many, it feels as though the tragedy of that night never left. More than 100 years have passed, but the Villisca Axe murders remain a mystery. Who slipped into that house on a warm summer night and destroyed an entire family? Was it a jealous rival, a disturbed preacher, or a faceless killer who vanished into the night? We may never know, but the story continues to haunt anyone who hears it. So what do you think? Who do you believe was behind the murders in Villisca? Could it have been someone the family trusted, or was it truly the work of a stranger? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Thank you for watching Scary with me. If you enjoyed this terrifying true story, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another chilling tale. Until next time, remember, the scariest stories are always true, and sometimes the killer is never caught.